Chapter 1, The Silence Before the Screams. The Hammerhold defense grid still glowed faintly against the black void, its battered turrets cooling after hours of relentless fire. Phantom flight survivors drifted in formation, their hulls scarred, their comms filled with static. The silence was deceptive. Every pilot knew the enemy would not accept humiliation without vengeance. Commander Vance sat rigid in his cockpit, helmet visor reflecting the faint light of Hammerhold's shield lattice. His hands rested on the controls, steady, deliberate. He had lost half his squadron in the charge, but the outpost still stood. That mattered. Humanity's line had not broken. Alpha Command confirms Hammerhold secure, the comm officer's voice crackled through the channel. Reinforcements inbound, estimated arrival 6 hours. 6 hours, Vance's jaw tightened. 6 hours was an eternity if the aliens regrouped. He keyed into the squadron channel. Phantom flight status check, responses came back clip professional. Phantom 2 reactor stable, weapons offline. Phantom 4 hull breach patched, maneuvering thrusters at 50%. Phantom 6 comm array fried, running blind but operational. Each voice carried exhaustion, but none faltered. They had learned to bury fear beneath procedure. Lieutenant Kale, Phantom 3, broke the rhythm. "Commander, you think they'll hit us again before reinforcements arrive?" Vance's reply was calm, almost cold. "They lost face today, they'll come. Question is how fast and how loud." The alien empire, known to humans only as the Vadran Dominion, had ruled the outer sectors with arrogance for centuries. Their fleets were vast, their technology brutal. Yet Hammerhold had resisted, and Phantom flight had carved through their swarm like a scalpel. That humiliation would demand retribution. Vance pulled up tactical overlays. The Dominion's retreat vectors suggested regrouping at the Derelict Mothership drifting beyond the asteroid belt. A relic from a war older than humanity's first jump drive, the Mothership had been silent for decades. Now Dominion signals clustered around it. "Phantom flight," Vance said, voice steady. "We're not waiting for reinforcements. Dominion regrouping at the Derelict. If they're staging there, we need eyes on it before they scream back across the line." Kale exhaled sharply. "Sir, with respect, we're barely holding together. That mothership's a graveyard. Dominion could be using it as a trap." "Exactly why we go," Vance replied. "Better we bleed now than let Hammerhold get blindsided." No one argued further. Orders were orders, and Phantom flight had already followed Vance through worse. The squadron adjusted course, engines flaring against the void. Hammerhold shrank behind them, its shield glow fading into distance. Ahead, the derelict mothership loomed, an immense carcass of alien engineering, hull fractured, spires jutting like broken bones. As they closed in, sensors picked up faint energy signatures. Dominion craft clustered around the mothership's hull, their formation disciplined, their silence unnerving. No transmissions, no patrol sweeps, just waiting. "Commander," Kale whispered over comms, "they're not moving, it's like they're listening." Vance narrowed his eyes. "Or waiting for it to wake." The mothership had been dead for centuries, its systems gutted, its reactors cold. Yet Dominion arrogance suggested they believed it could still serve, perhaps as a rallying symbol, perhaps as something worse. Phantom 6's voice cut in, distorted by damaged comms. "Sir, I'm reading resonance spikes inside the mothership, not Dominion signals, something older." The cockpit lights dimmed as Vance's systems struggled to interpret the data. Resonance patterns, deep and irregular, pulsed like a heartbeat. Kale's voice trembled despite discipline. "Sir, if that thing's coming alive, then humanity faces more than the Dominion," Vance said, his tone unflinching. "We face whatever built that monster." The squadron drifted closer, weapons primed though half were offline. The mothership's hull groaned across sensors, vibrations echoing through the void. Then without warning, a sound cut through every channel, low, guttural, mechanical, yet alive. The derelict mothership screamed. It was not sound in the human sense, but a resonance that tore through comms, rattled hull plating, and clawed at the nerves of every pilot. Phantom flight held formation, but hearts raced, hands tightened on controls. Dominion ships stirred at last, engines igniting in perfect synchronization. They did not attack. They aligned themselves around the mothership as if answering its call. Vance's voice was steel. "Phantom flight, record everything. This isn't just a regroup. Dominion's awakening something they don't control." Kale muttered, "Feels like they're worshipping it." The mothership's scream intensified, resonance spikes climbing. Phantom 6's sensors overloaded, sparks flying in his cockpit. "Sir, it's broadcasting, wideband, not just a Dominion craft. It's reaching beyond the sector." Vance's mind raced. If the mothership was signaling, it wasn't calling only Dominion forces. It was calling whatever lay beyond known space. "Phantom flight," Vance ordered, "we hold position. No engagement unless fired upon. Our mission is eyes, not glory. Humanity needs to know what's coming." The Dominion fleet began to shift, forming a perimeter around the mothership. Their arrogance was gone, their movements were reverent, almost fearful. Kale whispered, "Commander, if they're afraid of it, what chance do we have?" Vance's reply was calm, deliberate, the same tone he had used when ordering the suicidal charge through the swarm. "We don't need chance, we need resolve." Humanity doesn't bow to screams. The mothership's resonance surged again, this time carrying fragments of structure, patterns that resembled coordinates. Phantom flight systems translated them into star maps, pointing far beyond Dominion territory, into the abyss where no human ship had ever ventured. Vance stared at the data, jaw set. They're not just regrouping, they're preparing to open a path, and whatever waits on the other side, Dominion wants it. The squadron held formation, battered ships silhouetted against the colossal derelict. The scream continued, echoing across the void, a herald of something vast and unknown. For the first time since Hammerhold, Vance felt the weight of silence pressing against him. Humanity had won a battle, but the war had just shifted into something far darker. "Phantom flight," he said quietly. "We've seen enough. Fall back to Hammerhold. Relay everything to Alpha Command. The abyss is stirring and humanity must be ready." Engines flared, formation turned. Behind them, the mothership screamed again, louder, reaching farther. Dominion ships did not pursue. They remained in orbit, guardians of a relic that was no longer dead. As Phantom flight retreated, Vance's voice carried across the channel, steady and unyielding. "Remember this sound. It's the voice of what comes next, and when it arrives, humanity will not flinch." The void swallowed their words, but the scream lingered, echoing across stars humanity had never touched. The abyss had spoken, and the war was no longer between empires. It was between existence and whatever waited beyond. Chapter 2, The Abyss Stirs. The return to Hammerhold was not a retreat, it was a recalibration. Phantom flight's battered hulls slid into the fortress docks, their scars telling stories of Dominion fire and the scream of the derelict mothership. The hangar was silent as crews swarmed the ships, eyes darting toward Vance as if his expression alone could confirm whether humanity had crossed into something it could not survive. Vance disembarked, helmet tucked under his arm, stride measured. He didn't waste words. Command briefing. Now his voice carried the weight of inevitability. Officers fell in line. Hammerhold's war room was a cavern of steel and holographic projections. Star maps flickered, Dominion fleet positions marked in crimson, human patrol routes in blue. At the center, the new coordinates glowed, alien glyphs translated into a path that led beyond charted space. The abyss. No human ship had ever gone there, and now Dominion fleets were guarding its threshold. Alpha Command's representatives were already waiting. Admiral Corrin, broad-shouldered and unflinching, leaned forward. "You've seen something. Speak." Vance placed the data core on the table. "The derelict mothership isn't dead, it's screaming." Dominion isn't regrouping, they're holding position, guarding. The coordinates point beyond their territory, they're preparing to open a path. The room chilled. Strategists exchanged glances, some skeptical, others grim. Corrin's jaw tightened. "You're saying Dominion found something worse than themselves?" Vance nodded. "And they're not rushing in, that alone should terrify us." Colonel Rhee, Intelligence Division, tapped the projection. "We intercepted fragments of Dominion transmissions. They call it the threshold." Their tone isn't conquest, it's reverence, fear even. "Dominion doesn't fear," Corrin muttered. "They consume." "Until now," Rhee countered. The silence stretched, broken only by the hum of projectors. Vance leaned forward, voice steady. "We fought Dominion for survival, but this is different. They're preparing to unleash something, and when it arrives, it won't care about empires, it will care about existence." Corrin's gaze swept the room. "Options," Rhee spoke first. "We could shadow Dominion fleets, track their movements, learn what they're guarding." "Risky," Corrin said. "They'll expect surveillance." Vance interjected. "We don't shadow. We infiltrate. Phantom flight can slip past their perimeter. We've done it before." A strategist shook his head. "That's suicide." "Dominion patrols are thicker than ever." Vance's eyes narrowed. "Suicide is waiting until they open the path and whatever's beyond steps through." The room bristled. Military dialogue was never gentle, but Vance's calm delivery carried a blade's edge. He wasn't reckless, he was certain. Corrin finally spoke. "You'll have one chance. Phantom flight will recon the abyss coordinates. No engagement unless necessary. Bring back proof." Vance inclined his head. "Understood." The meeting dissolved into logistics. Fuel reserves, stealth modules, comm silence protocols. Every detail mattered. Humanity's survival depended on precision. Hours later, Phantom flight assembled in Hammerhold's hangar. Pilots checked gear, technicians sealed hull breaches. The air was taut, every breath measured. Vance stood before them, helmet under his arm once more. "Dominion thinks they can guard the abyss. They think humanity will hesitate. They're wrong. We don't flinch. We don't wait for nightmares to arrive. We meet them head on. This mission isn't about survival. It's about proving that when the abyss stirs, humanity answers." No cheers followed, just nods, grim and resolute. That was Phantom flight's way. Engines roared, the squadron lifted, formation tight. Hammerhold's defenses opened, granting passage into the void. The stars stretched, cold and endless. Dominion patrols loomed ahead, crimson signatures on scanners. Phantom flight adjusted course, slipping into shadow, every movement calculated. The scream of the mothership echoed faintly across comms, distorted but unmistakable. Pilots stiffened, hands tightening on controls. Vance's voice cut through, calm and unyielding. Steady, remember the sound. It's not a warning, it's a challenge. Dominion ships drifted in formation, their hulls bristling with weapons, yet they did not advance. They orbited the derelict, guardians of something unseen. Phantom flight slid past, cloaked in silence, hearts pounding but hands steady. Then the coordinates pulsed, star maps shifted, glyphs aligning. The abyss stirred, space itself seemed to ripple, a distortion beyond comprehension. Sensors screamed anomalies, readings spiking into chaos. Pilots exchanged terse reports. Gravitational flux off the charts. Energy signatures unknown origin. Visual distortion, space folding. Vance's voice remained level. Record everything, no deviation. The distortion grew, a wound in the fabric of reality. Dominion ships adjusted, forming a perimeter. They weren't attacking, they were waiting. Reverent. Afraid, Phantom flight held position, cloaked in silence. The abyss opened wider, a fracture in the void, and from within something moved, not a ship, not a fleet. Something vast, undefined, a shadow against stars. Sensors failed to classify. The scream intensified, resonating through hulls, through bones. Pilots gritted teeth, some whispering curses. Vance spoke, voice cutting through the chaos. Hold formation, this is what Dominion fears, this is what humanity must face. The shadow shifted, retreating deeper into the fracture. The abyss closed, distortion fading. Silence returned, heavy and absolute. Dominion ships remained still, guardians once more. The scream lingered, echoing faintly. Phantom flight exhaled as one. Vance's voice carried across the channel, calm as ever. We have proof. The abyss isn't empty. Relay everything to Hammerhold. Humanity must be ready. Engines flared, formation turned. The void swallowed their presence, but the scream lingered, etched into memory. Humanity had seen the abyss stir, and when it returned, the war would no longer be about territory or survival. It would be about existence itself. Chapter 3, the Dominion's reverence. The Dominion fleet hung in silence, their ships arrayed like cathedral spires against the void. No weapons charged, no engines flared. They were statues, guardians of something older than their empire. Phantom flight remained cloaked, drifting just beyond sensor reach, every pilot's breath measured against the tension pressing in from the abyss. Commander Vance's voice cut through the comms, steady as steel. Hammerhold will demand clarity. We give them more than fear, we give them evidence. Lieutenant Rourke's reply was clipped, professional. Telemetry secured, flux readings stabilized. Dominion ships are holding formation, no deviation. The fracture in space had sealed, but its echo lingered. The scream had not been sound, not vibration. It was resonance, a frequency that bypassed machinery and struck directly at the human nervous system. Every pilot carried it now, a scar carved into thought. Dominion reverence, muttered Ensign Hale, his voice low but audible across the channel. They weren't afraid of us. They were afraid of that. Vance did not rebuke him. Observation noted, keep it professional. The Dominion's silence was more dangerous than any barrage. These were conquerors, arrogant and merciless, yet they bowed before the abyss. Humanity had fought them for survival, clawing victories from superior fleets. But now, Phantom flight witnessed the Dominion humbled. That alone was proof of scale. The tactical overlay flickered. Dominion ships adjusted, not toward Phantom flight, but toward the coordinates of the fracture. Their movements were precise, ritualistic. A perimeter tightened as if they were priests guarding a shrine. Commander, Rourke said, they're locking position. Defensive posture, not against us, against whatever comes back. Vance's tone remained level, which means they expect it to return. Silence followed. No one wanted to voice the implication. Humanity had prepared for war against the Dominion, but the Dominion was preparing for war against something else, something they feared enough to worship. Phantom flight's cloaking held, but the pilots felt exposed. The abyss had seen them. The scream had marked them. Hale's hands trembled on the controls, though his voice stayed firm. If that shadow breaches again, Dominion won't fire first. They'll wait, they'll watch. Then we'll do what they won't, Vance said. We'll act, the words settled like iron. Humanity had no empire to protect, no legacy to preserve. They had survival, and survival demanded action. Calm, calculated, ruthless action. The fracture's coordinates pulsed faintly on sensors, residual energy bleeding into the void. Dominion ships aligned in concentric arcs, their hulls gleaming with refracted starlight. It was not a blockade, it was a vigil. Rourke's voice carried a note of unease. Commander, if Hammerhold receives this data, they'll escalate. They'll want strike readiness. They'll want more than readiness, Vance replied. They'll want understanding. Dominion bows to the abyss. Humanity will not. The comms fell silent again, but the weight of his words pressed into every cockpit. Humanity had faced extinction before, plagues, wars, collapse. They had endured. The abyss was different. It was not conquest. It was existence itself unraveling. Minutes stretched. Dominion ships remained motionless, their formation unbroken. Phantom flight drifted, cloaked, recording every detail. The void was quiet, but the scream lingered in memory, a reminder that silence was temporary. Then a flicker, not distortion, not flux, a signal. Dominion ships pulsed in unison, a synchronized burst of energy directed toward the fracture's coordinates. It was not communication. It was supplication, Hale whispered, they're praying. Vance's reply was immediate, sharp. They're preparing. The pulse faded. The fracture did not reopen. Dominion ships held their vigil. Phantom flight sensors captured everything, every frequency, every modulation. Humanity would study it, dissect it, weaponize it if possible. Dominion sought reverence. Humanity sought leverage. Commander, Rourke said, recommend withdrawal. We've gathered enough. Vance paused, his silence stretched, deliberate. Negative, we hold. Dominion fears the abyss. I want to see how far that fear goes. The decision locked into place. Phantom flight remained, cloaked shadows against the void, watching empires tremble before something older than stars. The abyss had screamed once, it would scream again, and when it did, humanity would not bow, they would answer. The Dominion's vigil continued, endless and unbroken. Phantom flight's engines whispered, maintaining position. The void pressed in, heavy and absolute. And in that silence, humanity's resolve hardened. The abyss was not empty, it was waiting. And when it returned, humanity would face it, not with reverence, but with defiance. The war was no longer about territory, it was about existence, and existence demanded that humanity stand where empires knelt. 17 hours into the vigil, the only sounds aboard Phantom Flight were the low thrum of cloak emitters and the faint, constant tremor of Dominion dreadnoughts vibrating through the void into the ship's hull. Rourke's console glowed pale blue, casting sharp lines under his fatigue-lined eyes as he ran spectral analysis on the synchronized pulse the Dominion had fired at the fracture 12,000 clicks out. The fracture itself was a pinprick of absolute dark, swallowing the faint light of distant neutron stars, unresponsive, silent. Commander, Rourke said, his voice flat, no inflection, I cracked the secondary encryption layered under their supplication signal. Operational order, not a prayer. Vance didn't take his eyes off the main view screen, where the Dominion's 217-ship formation hung motionless, weapons hot, crews at battle stations. Read it. They're marking the fracture as a calibration target. The colony carrier Oblivion's tribute, 42,000 lower-caste laborers, nav locked to the fracture coordinates. Launch window opens in 8 minutes. They're going to feed the entire ship into the fracture to see if the abyss responds. Hale's head snapped up from her comms station, her knuckles white where she gripped the edge of her console. I've been monitoring their internal bands. High Command is calling it a predator test. If the abyss consumes the carrier, they'll classify it as a hostile entity, start prototyping weapons to fight it. If it rejects the carrier, they'll declare it a deity, and every Dominion ship in the sector will surrender to it within 72 hours. Rourke's fingers flew over his haptic controls, pulling up the carrier's flight path. I can hack its nav computer, divert it 10,000 clicks off course. But their anti-tamper protocols are tied to the fleet-wide alert system. The second I touch the carrier's systems, every Dominion ship in the sector will ping our position. We'll be vaporized before we can spin up the jump drive. Picket corvettes are holding a perimeter 5,000 clicks out from the carrier, Hale added, her voice tight. Their passive scans will pick up our signature if we get within 2,000 clicks. We can't get close enough to board, even if we wanted to. We don't have shuttle capacity for 42,000 people anyway. Vance's silence stretched, deliberate, the same quiet calculation that had kept him alive through 3 tours against the Dominion's extermination fleets. The viewscreen showed the Oblivion's tribute braking formation, its engines flaring bright blue as it started its slow drift toward the fracture. Minion flagship sensors would be tracking every millimeter of its approach, waiting for the abyss to react. We don't touch the carrier, Vance said finally. Rourke frowned. Commander, we feed the Dominion's fleet targeting system a false reading. Vance cut in, turning to face his crew. We spoof a nav malfunction on the carrier. It's going to miss the fracture by 800 clicks. They'll recall it. No one will know we were here. No exposure, no lost intel, no dead laborers. That leaves the Dominion without the calibration data, Rourke said, though his fingers were already moving to execute the order. Good, Vance said, his voice cold. They're arrogant enough to think they can test the abyss. Let them stay scared. Fear makes you sloppy. We'll be here when they slip up. The next 3 minutes were a blur of coded data streams, injected directly into the Dominion's unencrypted tactical band. Hale's console chirped twice as the false reading took hold. On the view screen, the Oblivion's tribute's engines flared brighter, its trajectory shifting sharply away from the fracture. Across the Dominion formation, ships adjusted their firing solutions, the carrier breaking its approach as the Admiralty issued a recall order. Rourke let out a quiet breath, his coffee cup rattling on the edge of his console. Hale suppressed a half smile as she picked up a Dominion comms transmission, a rear admiral cursing the caste filth who had built the carrier's nav systems, calling the recall a waste of resources. The Dominion formation held its position, weapons still hot, still waiting. The fracture remained dark, unresponsive, the abyss beyond it still silent. Phantom Flight's cloak held, its presence undetected, its crew watching the empire that had conquered half the galaxy tremble before a force older than stars. Vance leaned back in his command chair, his eyes fixed on the fracture. "They're still praying," he said, quiet so only the bridge crew could hear. "Let them. We'll be ready when the abyss decides to answer." Outside the viewscreen, the void pressed in, heavy and absolute, holding its breath. Chapter 5, Episode 23. When the derelict mothership screams, humanity faces the abyss beyond stars. ASF. The fracture pulsed once, barely perceptible, like a heartbeat buried beneath kilometers of stone. Every Dominion sensor lit up, their formation tightening instinctively. On Phantom Flight's bridge, silence reigned, broken only by the faint hum of the cloak generators. "Contact?" Hale asked, her voice clipped. "Not yet," Rourke replied, eyes locked on the tactical overlay, but they felt it. "Look at them, half their fleet just shifted into defensive posture. They're scared of shadows." Vance leaned forward, elbows on his knees, gaze unwavering. "Fear is leverage, let's use it." The Dominion carrier, Oblivion's tribute, began cycling its launch bays, disgorging squadrons of interceptors. Their formation was precise, arrogant in its symmetry, a display meant to intimidate. But the humans aboard Phantom Flight had seen worse. They had stared into the abyss before, and they had survived. "Intercept pattern Gamma 7, Hale muttered, fingers dancing across her console. "They're trying to box the fracture. If something comes through, they want first strike." Rourke snorted. "First strike against what? They don't even know what's on the other side." "They don't care," Vance said. His tone was calm, surgical. "Dominion doctrine, control the unknown by overwhelming it. They'll throw bodies into the void until it stops screaming." The fracture pulsed again, stronger this time. The Dominion fleet reacted instantly, weapons charging, shields flaring. The carrier's admiral barked orders across the comms, his voice sharp, brittle with panic. Hale intercepted the transmission, translating the guttural Dominion tongue into clipped English. "Hold the line, no retreat. The abyss is ours to claim." She shook her head. "They're trying to convince themselves." Vance's lips curled into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Then let's remind them the abyss doesn't take orders." The humans moved with precision. Phantom Flight's cloak held, but its sensors reached deep into the fracture, probing wavelengths Dominion tech couldn't touch. Hale's console flickered with ghost readings, energy signatures that defied classification, patterns that bent logic. "Sir," she said, voice low. "Something moving in there, not Dominion." "Not us, something older." Rourke's knuckles whitened around his coffee cup. "Define older, pre-stellar, pre-empire." "Whatever it is, it's not built, it's born." The fracture widened, a ripple spreading across the void. Dominion ships scrambled, their formation fracturing under the weight of uncertainty. Interceptors darted like insects, scanning, firing blind into the dark. "Idiots," Rourke muttered. "They're wasting ammunition." "Not ammunition," Vance corrected. "Faith, every shot is a prayer, and prayers don't stop monsters." The first scream came without sound. It was a distortion, a tearing of perception itself. Phantom Flight's hull shuddered, its crew gripping consoles as reality bent around them. Dominion ships reeled, their comms exploding with panicked cries. On the viewscreen, the fracture vomited light, cold, jagged, merciless. Shapes emerged, vast and incomprehensible, their outlines shifting like liquid steel. They were not ships, they were not alive in any human sense, they were something else. "Contact confirmed," Hale whispered. "Multiple entities, no recognizable propulsion, no heat signature, they're feeding on the void." Dominion interceptors charged, weapons blazing. The entities absorbed the fire, their forms swelling, twisting. One interceptor vanished, swallowed whole by a ripple of darkness. Another disintegrated, its atoms scattered like dust. The Dominion admiral screamed orders, his voice cracking. "Advance, advance." The abyss bows to Dominion, but the abyss did not bow, it consumed. Vance stood, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Hale, patch me into their comms, open channel." She hesitated. "Sir, if they trace, they won't do it." The channel opened. Vance's voice carried across the Dominion fleet, calm, deliberate, surgical. "You're fighting something you don't understand. Every shot you fire makes it stronger. Every order you give feeds its hunger. Withdraw now or watch your empire bleed into the void." Silence followed, then laughter, harsh, brittle, desperate. The Dominion admiral spat back, his arrogance undimmed. "Human filth, you hide in shadows, whispering like cowards." "Dominion does not retreat, Dominion conquers." Vance's eyes narrowed. "Then Dominion dies." The entities surged, their forms expanding, fractal patterns blooming across the void. Dominion cruisers fired in unison, their beams slicing through space. For a moment the entities recoiled, for a moment it seemed the Empire might hold. Then the fracture screamed again. The sound was not sound, it was pressure, crushing, infinite. Dominion ships buckled, their hulls collapsing inward. Interceptors scattered, their formations dissolving. The carrier itself trembled, its shields flickering under the assault. On Phantom Flight's bridge, Hale's console lit up with cascading alerts. "Sir, the fracture's destabilizing. If it collapses, everything within 10 clicks goes with it." Rook swore under his breath. That includes us. Vance's gaze remained steady. Not if we move first. Course, Hale asked, fingers poised. Thread the needle, Vance ordered. Take us between the Dominion line and the fracture. Cloak at maximum. We'll ride the chaos. Rook's eyes widened. That's suicide. No, Vance said, his voice cold, absolute. That's strategy. Dominion arrogance blinds them. They'll never see us slip past. Phantom flight surged forward, its cloak shimmering against the storm. Dominion ships reeled, their sensors overwhelmed, their weapons firing blind. The fracture screamed again, louder, hungrier. As Phantom flight threaded the chaos, Hale's console chirped, a new signal, faint but unmistakable. Sir, she whispered, there's something else in there, not Dominion, not Abyss, something calling. Vance's eyes locked on the fracture, his voice a whisper meant only for himself. Then we answer. The void pressed in heavy and absolute, holding its breath once more. Humanity's shadow ship slipped through the storm, unseen, unheard, waiting for the abyss to speak again. And when it did, the galaxy would change forever. Chapter 6, Episode 23. When the Derelict Mothership screams. Humanity faces the abyss beyond stars ASF. The fracture's howl faded into a low, grinding resonance, like tectonic plates colliding in the void. Phantom flight's hull vibrated under the pressure, its cloak straining against the interference. On the bridge, every officer leaned forward, eyes locked on the shifting distortion ahead. Dominion cruisers are regrouping, Hale reported, her voice clipped. They're pulling back from the fracture perimeter. Looks like they're afraid of whatever's inside. Rourke snorted. Arrogant bastards finally learned fear. Took long enough. Vance didn't move. His gaze stayed fixed on the fracture, the faint signal Hale had detected still pulsing across his console. It wasn't Dominion, it wasn't abyssal chaos, it was something older, deeper, an echo that carried intent. Sir, Hale pressed, if we push closer, we'll lose cloak stability. Dominion's sensors will catch us. They won't, Vance said, calm as stone. They're blind, their arrogance makes them deaf to anything outside their doctrine. We exploit that. The ship edged forward, threading the gap between Dominion formations and the fracture's unstable rim. The Dominion fleet shifted uneasily, their lines breaking, commanders barking orders across encrypted channels. Were predators forced to circle prey they couldn't understand? Then the fracture screamed again. The sound wasn't sound at all, it was pressure, a crushing wave of resonance that made Phantom flight's hull groan. Consoles flickered. Hale's hands flew across controls, stabilizing systems. Rourke gripped the railing, knuckles white. Shields holding, Hale said, breathless. Barely. Vance's voice cut through the chaos. Lock onto that signal, I want clarity. Hale hesitated. Sir, it's not a transmission, it's layered like a voice buried in static. Then dig, Vance ordered. Strip the noise. Find the intent. The Dominion fleet opened fire not at Phantom flight but at the fracture itself. Lances of plasma and kinetic rounds slammed into the distortion, vanishing into the abyss. The fracture responded with a convulsion, a ripple that tore two Dominion destroyers apart in an instant. Their wreckage spun into nothingness, swallowed whole. Rourke's jaw tightened. Idiots, they think brute force solves everything. They're not fighting it, Vance murmured. They're trying to silence it. Hale's console chirped, the signal sharpened, cutting through the distortion. A single phrase emerged, translated by Phantom Flight's adaptive linguistics core. Human vessel. Approach, the bridge went silent. Rourke broke it first. That's a trap, Dominion psyops maybe. They'll bait us into the fracture and tear us apart. No, Vance said, his tone absolute. Dominion doesn't know how to speak like that. They command, they demand, they never invite. Hale's eyes flicked to Vance. Sir, if we answer, we risk everything. Cloak will fail, Dominion will see us. Vance leaned forward, his voice low, deliberate. Humanity survives because we listen when others refuse. We adapt, we exploit arrogance. Dominion will never approach, that's why we must. Phantom flight surged closer, cloak shimmering, systems straining against the fracture's pull. The Dominion fleet hesitated, their formations breaking further as commanders argued over strategy. They didn't understand what was happening. They couldn't. The signal grew stronger. Hale's console translated again. You are not Abyss. You are not Dominion. You are different. Rourke muttered. That's not comforting. Vance's eyes narrowed. It's recognition. That's more dangerous than hostility. The fracture convulsed once more, but this time Phantom flight wasn't repelled. Instead, the distortion parted, a corridor opening into the abyss. Beyond it, faint outlines shimmered, structures, vast and derelict, suspended in the void. Hale's breath caught. Sir, that's a mothership. Not Dominion, not human, something else. The derelict loomed, its hull scarred, its architecture alien yet precise. It wasn't chaos, it was designed, purpose, and it was waiting. Dominion sensors will catch this, Rourke warned. They'll see the corridor, they'll follow. They'll hesitate, Vance countered. Arrogance makes them slow. They'll argue, posture, delay. We move now. Phantom flight slipped into the corridor, its cloak flickering but holding. The Dominion fleet roared behind them, commanders shouting, ships repositioning. But none dared follow, not yet. Inside the corridor, silence reigned. The derelict mothership loomed larger, its surface etched with symbols no human system could decode. Hale's console pulsed again. Human vessel, you carry shadow, you carry silence. Approach. Rourke's voice was tight. Sir, this thing knows us, knows phantom flight. That's impossible. Not impossible, Vance said. Unsettling, but not impossible. The ship closed in. The mothership's hull shimmered, a faint glow emanating from fractures in its design. It wasn't dead, it was dormant, waiting. Hale whispered, Sir, if this thing wakes, Dominion fleets won't matter. Nothing will. Vance's gaze hardened. Then we make sure it wakes for us, not them. The fracture screamed again, but this time the sound was different. Not hunger, not chaos. It was a warning, a challenge, a test. Phantom flight pressed forward, humanity's shadow ship threading the abyss, carrying silence into the heart of something older than empires. And as the derelict mothership stirred, Dominion arrogance faltered. Humanity had stepped where no empire dared, and the abyss itself had answered. The galaxy would never be the same. Chapter 7. The fractures demand. The corridor narrowed into a throat of lightless geometry, walls shifting as if the mothership's interior resisted being mapped. Phantom Flight's hull sensors spat contradictions, mass readings that fluctuated, gravitational pulls that reversed mid-scan. The crew sat in silence, every console alive with warnings that meant nothing. Keep it steady, Vance ordered, voice clipped. Ignore the noise, fly the ship, not the ghosts. Rourke's hands tightened on the controls. Sir, the corridor's folding. If it closes, we're paced. Then don't let it close, Vance replied, calm as stone. The Dominion fleet lingered outside, their hesitation palpable even through the void. They had power, arrogance, and numbers, but none dared enter. Humanity had crossed the threshold first, and that mattered. Inside, the mothership spoke again, not through sound but through pressure in the skull, a resonance that forced itself into thought. Human vessel, silence carried, shadow-born, you will prove. Hale's console flared, symbols cascading across the screen. It's issuing parameters, a test, sir, not random. Translate, Vance said. I can't, not fully, but it's demanding alignment, recognition, proof of intent. Hale's voice faltered. It wants us to declare who we are, Rourke snorted. We're ants compared to this thing. What declaration could matter? Vance leaned forward, eyes locked on the shifting fractures ahead. It doesn't want arrogance, it wants clarity. Dominion fleet's posture claimed dominion over stars. We don't, we survive, we adapt, that's our declaration. The mothership's fractures pulsed, light bleeding into the corridor. The pressure intensified, forcing every crew member to grit teeth against the intrusion. Survival, adaptation, shadow, silence, you claim, you prove. Hale's console screamed, data streams unraveling. Sir, it's opening a chamber, coordinates locked, but it's not stable. If we enter, we're committed. Commit, Vance said. Phantom flight doesn't retreat. The ship slid forward, engines whispering against the corridor's resistance. Chamber unfolded like a wound in space, vast and hollow, its walls alive with shifting glyphs. Inside, structures floated, monoliths of alien design, each fractured, each glowing faintly. They weren't weapons, they were archives, memories, proofs of empires long dead. Rourke's voice dropped. Sir, these are records, whole civilizations, burned into stone. Hale's hands trembled over the console. It's showing us failures, empires that claimed eternity, all gone. The mothership remembers them, judges them. The resonance struck again, sharper, undeniable. Human vessel, Dominion watches, you stand where they fear, you will prove. Vance's jaw tightened. It wants demonstration, not words. Action, Rourke's eyes narrowed. Action against what? The chamber shifted. One of the monoliths cracked open, spilling light that coalesced into form. A construct emerged, alien, angular, a predator built from memory. It moved with purpose, its edges humming with lethal intent. Hale whispered, it's testing us with their ghosts. The construct lunged. Phantom Flight's hull shuddered as energy slammed against shields. Rourke cursed, pulling the ship into a roll. Sir, this thing's faster than anything we've faced. Then adapt, Vance said. Show it why humanity survives. Weapons fired, precise bursts, not wasted volleys. Phantom Flight's cannons stitched light across the construct's frame, tearing fragments free. But the construct reformed, learning, adjusting. Hale's console flared again. Sir, it's mirroring us. Every move we make, it copies, improves. Then stop playing its game, Vance ordered. Change the rules. Rourke's hands blurred across controls, pulling Phantom Flight into maneuvers no Dominion pilot would dare, skimming walls, flipping orientation, cutting engines mid-roll. The construct faltered, unable to predict chaos. Now, Vance said. Phantom Flight's cannons roared, a single focused strike that pierced the construct's core. It shattered, light scattering into silence. The chamber pulsed. The resonance shifted, proof, survival, adaptation, silence carried, shadowborn you pass. Hale exhaled, sweat streaking his face. Sir, it accepted us, it's opening deeper access. The chamber walls peeled back, revealing a core fracture that glowed with impossible depth. Beyond it, something stirred, vast, ancient, not yet awake. Rourke's voice was low. Sir, if that thing rises, Dominion fleets won't matter, nothing will. Vance's gaze hardened. Then we make sure it rises for us. Humanity doesn't bow, not to Dominion, not to ghosts, not to abyss. The mothership's resonance deepened, a soundless roar that filled every thought. Human vessel, you carry silence, you carry shadow. You awaken, Phantom Flight pressed forward, deeper into the fracture, deeper into the abyss. Outside, Dominion fleets faltered, their arrogance cracking as they watched humanity step where no empire dared. The abyss had demanded proof, humanity had given it, and now the mothership stirred. The fracture sealed shut behind Phantom Flight with a low, subsonic thrum that vibrated through the deck plates into Rourke's teeth. His gloves were slick with sweat, fingers cramping around the control yoke as the ship's nav system threw error after error. No lock, no trajectory, no reference points for the space folding around them. The chamber's artificial gravity wavered, then steadied, replaced by a pull that tugged at the ship's hull like a deep-sea current. "Sensors are useless, sir," Hale barked from the sensor pit, his voice tight. He tapped a cracked console, the readout flashing static before resolving into impossible values. Core temperature below absolute zero, mass equivalent to a small moon, energy output that dwarfed the Dominion's entire home star fleet. "Whatever in here, it's not matter as we understand it. Hull plating is sublimating, no external source I can find." Vance didn't flinch, his gaze fixed on the external feed. Through the fractured viewport, the mothership's outer hull was dissolving into swirling dark matter, tendrils of obsidian light stretching out to swallow the Dominion fleet loitering at the edge of the system. Outside, Dominion capital ships glinted gold and black, their triple crown insignia emblazoned on every hull, weapons trained on the fracture as their commanders argued over open channels. On the Dominion flagship Imperial Resolve, Admiral Vorek slammed a fist onto his command console, his four eyes burning with fury. "That human vessel is a gnat buzzing around a god's corpse," he snarled at his tactical officer. "Charge the tectonic lance. Fire the second they cross the core threshold. Blast the whole derelict to dust before they can steal a single bolt of its tech. The Triple Crown does not share spoils with apes." "Sir, human comms just broadcast on all Dominion frequencies," the officer replied, fumbling with his headset. "They're hailing us," says it's Commander Vance of UNSC Phantom Flight. Vorek's lip curled. "Patch it through. Let's hear the monkey beg for mercy before we vaporize him." The comms crackled to life, Vance's voice calm, even cutting through the static. "Admiral Vorek, this system is under human jurisdiction. Any Dominion vessel that fires on the mothership will be deemed an act of war against all of humanity. Stand down your weapons or face the consequences." Vorek's harsh laugh echoed across the bridge. "Consequences? You are in a derelict alien ship with no fleet to back you up, human. You have 90 seconds to vacate the system before I turn your ship and every human colony within 50 light-years to ash. Your little stunt with the construct bought you nothing." Back on Phantom Flight, Hale's head snapped up. "Sir, Dominion fleet is charging primary cannons, tectonic lance, yield 10 teratons, enough to crack the mothership's core." "Countdown 80 seconds. Rourke, push the engines," Vance ordered, his voice sharp. "Get us to the core before they fire." "I'm already at 120% thrust, sir," Rourke gritted out, his knuckles white as the ship lurched forward, the pull of the abyss growing stronger. "She's not letting us slow down. We're going to hit the core in 40 seconds, whether we like it or not." The fracture widened around them, the walls of the chamber peeling back to reveal the entity stirring in the dark. A mass of shifting shadow and starlight, tendrils that stretched for light years, pulsing with a rhythm that matched the thrum vibrating through the ship's hull. It wasn't awake, not fully, but it was aware, a presence so vast Vance could feel it pressing against the edges of his mind, not hostile, not friendly, just existing. 30 seconds to Dominion fire, Hale warned, his fingers flying across his console as he ran through every jamming protocol he had. "I can't get through their firewall, they've locked the firing sequence." Vance leaned forward, his jaw tight. "All hands brace for impact. If that lance hits the core, it could wake this thing violent." "We don't let that happen." The countdown hit 10. Vorek's finger hovered over the fire button, a smirk on his face. "Fire!" The tectonic lance's projectile streaked toward the fracture, glowing bright blue with concentrated antimatter. Then the entity pulsed. A wave of dark energy rolled out from the mothership's core, faster than light. It washed over the Dominion fleet before the lance could travel half the distance to the fracture. Every Dominion system went dead in an instant. Weapons fizzled, shields dropped, life support failed, comms went silent. The tectonic lance detonated harmlessly in empty space, its blast swallowed by the expanding dark. On the Imperial Resolve, Vorek stared at his black screens, his four eyes wide with terror. He tried to call his tactical officer, but no sound came out. The ship was drifting, dead in space, at the mercy of whatever was inside the derelict. Back on Phantom Flight, the comms crackled to life again, Vance's voice amplified, broadcasting on every frequency, Dominion and human alike. "This is Commander Vance of UNSC Phantom Flight. This system is under human protection. Any Dominion vessel that remains in this system will be considered hostile. You have 10 minutes to retreat beyond the outer system marker, or be disabled permanently." He paused, his gaze fixed on the entity's core. where a single point of bright white light was starting to open, like an eye waking from a 1,000-year sleep. "Humanity doesn't bow," he said, quiet enough that only his crew could hear. "Not to Dominion, not to ghosts, not to Abyss." The mothership's resonance boomed through the ship, louder than before, shaking the deck plates. "Shadow-born, silence carried, you are the herald, the Abyss yields." Phantom flight drifted forward into the heart of the ancient thing as the Dominion fleet turned tail and ran, their arrogance shattered, their empire's invincibility gone in a single pulse. The 10-minute countdown Vance had broadcast bled red across Phantom Flight's tactical display, each tick synced to the low thrum of the derelict mothership's resonance, vibrating through the hull. For the first 90 seconds, the only motion on the Dominion side was the ragged scatter of their fleet. Capital ships burned their engines so hard their reactor cores glowed cherry red on long-range sensors, abandoning damaged escorts and drifting troop transports without a second thought. No formation, no coordinated retreat, just raw, unadulterated panic, the kind that came when the invincible myth of the Dominion Empire cracked open to reveal the rot underneath. "Commander, Imperial Resolve is hailing," Ensign Kale called, his voice tight, a trickle of blood running from his left ear where a loose comms headset had clipped him during the initial resonance pulse. "Audio only, their systems are too fried for video, it's Vorak." Vance didn't move his gaze from the viewscreen, fixed on the bright white point unfolding at the core of the ancient vessel. "Patch it through." The feed crackled, distorted by static, Vorak's 4 eyes visible in a grainy split screen, his usually immaculate scaled armor smudged with coolant, his voice ragged, no trace of the cold arrogance he'd worn during the pre-battle hails. "Vance, what did you do? What is that thing?" "I told you to leave the system," Vance said, calm, no triumph in his tone, just the flat cadence of a man stating facts. "You didn't. Now you deal with the consequences." He cut the feed before Vorak could sputter a reply. A tendril of dark, iridescent energy unspooled from the mothership's core, slow, deliberate, and drifted toward a Dominion destroyer that had been too badly damaged to flee, its crew dead from the system-wide life support failure. It wrapped around the destroyer's hull, and the ship didn't explode, didn't vent atmosphere. It simply dissolved, atom by atom, leaving no debris, no energy signature, no trace it had ever existed. Lieutenant Reyes, Phantom Flight's weapons officer, slammed her fist on her console, the scar across her jaw, burned into her skin by Dominion plasma 2 years prior during the Epsilon Eridani skirmish, flashing white as she leaned forward. "Commander, we need to engage. That thing just erased a destroyer. It's a threat." "Hold your fire," Vance said, not looking away from the view screen. "It didn't touch us. It touched a Dominion ship that stayed in the system after the ultimatum. We don't fire unless fired upon." Before Reyes could argue, Kale pinged the comms panel, his face going pale. "Commander, priority transmission from High Command. It's buried under a jamming field the mothership is putting out. I'm only getting fragments." He patched the audio through, a garbled, cut-off voice spitting over the speakers. "Classified XK7 entity. Do not engage. It consumes organic and inorganic matter. Abort mission immediately. Repeat, abort." The transmission cut out in a burst of static. Vance's jaw tightened. XK7 was a classified designation he'd only seen once before, in a redacted file from the Outer Rim Survey Corps, marked "Do not approach under penalty of court-martial." The mothership pulsed, and a projection flickered to life on the main view screen, grainy, like pulled from a long-lost data core. First, it showed a Dominion battle group, 6 years prior, dropping out of warp directly atop the mothership, opening fire without warning. Their torpedoes detonated against the hull, leaving not a scratch, before the mothership emitted a single wave of dark energy. Every Dominion ship in the footage vanished, same as the destroyer just now. The projection shifted. Now it was the UNSC survey ship Daedalus, 3 years prior, dropping out of warp 10,000 clicks from the mothership, all weapons cold, hailing on open frequencies. The mothership didn't pulse. It sent a single low-frequency resonance ping, which the Daedalus recorded before jumping out. No damage, no casualties. The projection faded. The mothership's resonance rumbled through the ship, no longer a deafening boom, but a clear, resonant voice that sounded like grinding asteroids and dying stars. "Shadow-born, silence carried, you are the herald. The Abyss does not strike those who do not raise weapons first. The Dominion raised fire. The Abyss consumed them. Will you stand with the Abyss or join the Dominion in the void?" Vance tapped his comms, opening a channel directly to the mothership's core, his voice steady, no fear, no trace of the arrogance the Dominion had worn for centuries. "We don't stand with abysses. We don't stand with empires that shoot first. We stand for humanity. If you're a threat, we'll fight you. If you're not, we'll leave you be, but we don't take sides in wars we didn't start." The white light at the mothership's core dimmed a fraction, the iridescent tendrils retracting back into the hull. The resonance rumbled again, almost like a low, approving laugh. You carry the silence. The abyss remembers. Go now, Herald. The Dominion will return with more fire. The abyss will be waiting. The comms panel blared to life half a second later, a burst transmission from a Dominion patrol craft that had hidden in the outer system's asteroid belt to avoid the initial pulse. Its voice was shrill, panicked, cutting out mid-sentence. Imperial Armada. 200 ships, they're en route to glass this system. They're going to burn every human outpost in the fringe. They're coming now. The transmission died. Vance stared at the tactical display, where 200 fresh Dominion IFFs blinked into existence at the system's edge, their weapon signatures already powering up. He looked at his crew, Kale, blood still trickling from his ear, already running shield harmonic scans. Ray's, her hand hovering over the antimatter battery triggers, no fear in her eyes, only resolve. The mothership's resonance hummed in the background, a silent, waiting promise. All hands battle stations, Vance said, his voice crisp, steady, carrying to every corner of the ship. We're not running, and we're not letting the Dominion burn this system. The ship's internal klaxons shifted from sharp alert wail to low, steady pulse. Standard battle stations protocol, no panic, just drilled readiness. The deck plates thrummed with the mothership's abyssal resonance, a vibration less sound than pressure in the crew's teeth, familiar now after hours of alien contact. Shield harmonics holding, but 14 spinal mass driver locks are painted on us, Kale called, not looking up from his scan console, a trickle of blood still running from his left ear where the initial resonance pulse had burst a capillary. He wiped it absently with the back of his wrist, fingers flying across the holographic display. Dominion Vanguard is breaking formation, 18 corvettes leading, pushing hard for the Warden's position. ETA to weapons range, 11 minutes, 47 seconds. Ray's didn't take her hand off the antimatter battery triggers, knuckles white but voice steady as she keyed the fleet-wide comms. All UNF outposts, this is Abyssal Herald. Confirm shelter status, point defense readiness. Responses came back in 3 overlapping pings, gritty, no wasted words. Titan Mining Colony Foreman Halloway was first, voice tight but clear. Herald, 1,207 civilians are in the deep mine shelters. Point defense is locked and loaded. We'll pick off any stray fighters that break past your line. We're not leaving. Next, the Lagrange Research Station, their a young lieutenant who'd been poised to abandon his post an hour prior, jettisoned all non-essential data 10 minutes ago. 2 experimental graviton disruptors are loaded onto our fast shuttles, en route to you now. Should boost your point defense output by 30%. Last, the Border Patrol frigate Warden, Commander Russell's voice crackling over static as his ship took a glancing hit to the port nacelle. Herald, we're drawing Vanguard fire. 3 corvettes against their 18. We'll hold them as long as we can. Don't waste shots on us until we're gone. Vance's jaw tightened. He keyed the Dominion channel, voice calm, no trace of the rage he was holding back. This is Commander Jax Vance, UNF Abyssal Herald. You have 10 minutes to reverse course and exit the system. Any fire on human outposts will result in the execution of your command crew, no exceptions. A bark of laughter came back from a Dominion admiral, his haughty face sharp on the comms display. You are a pest, human. This system is Dominion's sovereign territory. We will glass your outposts, dissect your crew, and claim the derelict for the Empire. Your 10 minutes are up in 9. The comms cut. 30 seconds later, the first mass driver round slammed into the Herald's forward shields, orange sparks cascading across the viewport as the ship lurched. Kale called out shield integrity, dropping to 78%, harmonic dampeners holding but spiking. Out the viewport, the Warden weaved between Dominion corvettes, their point defense picking off 2 before a direct spinal hit to their reactor turned the frigate into a cloud of debris and fire. Ray's jaw tightened, her finger hovering closer to the antimatter triggers. Commander, let me take out the Vanguard now before they reach the outposts. Wait, Vance's voice was steady. Hold until the rest of their formation is committed. We don't want stray rounds hitting the mining colony. Give the Warden crew time to clear the area. As if on cue, the mothership's resonance shifted, the low thrum spiking into a subsonic pulse that rolled through the system, rattling the Herald's hull without causing structural damage. On the tactical display, every Dominion ship's weapon signature flickered and died for 90 seconds. Kale stared at his console, dumbfounded. What the hell, their command and control is fried. They can't target anything outside their own formation. Their FTL drives are cycling down too, they're stuck in system. Now, Ray's slammed the antimatter triggers. 6 rounds streaked out from the Herald's batteries, silent until they impacted the clustered Vanguard. The 18 corvettes erupted in blinding, silent fire, their hulls vaporized before their shields could react, the shockwave rolling out to disable 2 more Dominion cruisers caught in the blast radius. The rest of the 200-ship armada panicked, formation breaking as they fired wild, several friendly ships taking hits from their own uncoordinated barrage. The mothership's core flared bright for half a second, then dimmed back to its slow pulse, the resonance rumbling in the crew's bones once more. The comms crackled with that low, otherworldly voice, no visual this time, just sound. The first wave is broken. The abyss will not let them burn what it has claimed. Prepare. Dominion will return with heavier ships. The scream will come when the stars go dark. Kale pulled up the tactical display, the disabled Dominion ships drifting in the outer system, the human outposts pinging with confirmation of their safety. Their systems are rebooting now, Commander. ETA to full functionality, 43 minutes. Vance looked out the viewport, at the burning wreckage of the Warden, at the disabled Dominion armada, at the faint glimmer of the mothership's core behind the Herald. He keyed the comms, his voice carrying to every corner of the ship, to every human outpost listening in. All hands stand down from battle stations. Repair teams assess shield and hull damage. We've got 43 minutes to prep for the next wave. The Dominion thinks they can burn us out. Today we proved them wrong. We don't run, we don't surrender, we fight for every inch of our home. Dismissed. The system still vibrated with the mothership's residual resonance, the faint thrum echoing through every hull of the human fleet and the 8 outposts strung along the system's outer rim. 2 Dominion cruisers drifted dead in space, their hulls scorched black from the shockwave, 3 more trailing plasma lakes as their shield generators cycled through failed reboots. Across the 200-ship Dominion armada, formation was non-existent. Escorts weaved between larger vessels, firing warning shots at friendly contacts that glitched on their damaged IFF systems, several taking minor hull hits from their own uncoordinated barrage. On the Herald's bridge, the crew moved with sharp, practiced urgency, repair teams already swabbing plasma scorch marks off the command deck's viewport and running diagnostics on the hull plating torn loose by the Warden's final anti-ship salvo. Kale scrolled through the flood of incoming tactical data, his fingers flying across his console as he filtered out irrelevant noise. Titan IV colony reports 12 minor hull breaches, 0 fatalities. L5 defense platform is fully operational, weapons primed to engage any hostiles that break our perimeter. Vance leaned forward in his command chair, his jaw tight as he watched the disabled Dominion cruisers drift closer to the system's outer asteroid belt. Keep a lock on those cruisers. I don't want any surprises before the next wave hits. Already on it, Commander. Kale's voice cut off abruptly as a red alert blared across his console. He leaned in, cursing under his breath. Unidentified unguided missile broke loose from a damaged Dominion destroyer. Vector is straight for Titan IV's life support array. Impact in 90 seconds. Lieutenant Reyes, the point defense chief, didn't hesitate. She spun her console, locking the Herald's close-in weapon systems onto the missile's signature. Target locked, firing in 3, 2, 1. A burst of tungsten flechettes tore across the black, detonating the missile 300 clicks from the colony in a silent, bright flash. Missile eliminated, no collateral damage to Titan IV. Good work, Reyes, Vance said, his voice steady. Keep scanning for stray ordnance. We don't have the luxury of letting their garbage take out our colonies. Kale's next update made the blood run cold in Vance's veins. Commander, Dominion's small craft are rebooting faster than projected. 14 destroyers will have full weapon functionality in 22 minutes, not the 43 we calculated. The cruisers are still on the original timeline, but the escorts are already powering up their missile launchers. Before Vance could respond, the mothership's core flared bright white, the low, otherworldly voice crackling over the comms, sharper and more urgent than before. The Dominion deploys Star Eater dreadnoughts in 22 minutes. Their primary cannons bypass resonance shielding. You must deploy harmonic emitters to all 8 outposts within 18 minutes, or the veil will fall, and the abyss will consume this system as it did the last. A data packet auto-populated on the tactical display. Schematics of the Dominion's dreadnoughts, their cannon frequency matched to the exact resonance wavelength the mothership's shield used, and the precise deployment coordinates for each harmonic emitter at the outposts. Vance stared at the data, his mind racing. The Herald had 12 escort destroyers left after the first wave. If he sent all of them to carry the emitters, the mothership would be undefended against the 14 rebooting destroyers. If he split them, only half the outposts would get the protection they needed. We can rig the emitters to the Herald's shuttlecraft, Kale said, his voice calm as if he'd already run the math 100 times. 8 shuttles, each carrying 2 emitters. Send 6 escorts to escort the shuttles to the outer outposts. Keep 6 with us to hold off the destroyers. We can have all emitters deployed 7 minutes before the dreadnoughts arrive. The emitters will sync with the mothership's resonance, extend the shield to cover all outposts. Vance opened his mouth to approve the plan when the comms crackled with a Dominion transmission, the captain's voice sneering, dripping with aristocratic contempt. Human insects, you think your alien relic saved you? Our dreadnoughts will be here in 18 minutes. We will glass your mudball colonies, then harvest your biomass for the Empire. Surrender now, and we will make your deaths painless. Kale cut the transmission before the captain could finish, his jaw tight. Their dreadnought ETA just updated to 18 minutes. They sent the signal the second their comms rebooted. They're not waiting for the cruisers. Vance stood, his boots clicking on the deck as he walked to the viewport, staring out at the faint glimmer of the mothership's core behind the Herald, at the burning wreckage of the Warden drifting in the distance, at the 14 Dominion destroyers already lighting up their weapon systems on the tactical display. He keyed the all-hands comms, his voice hard as steel, carrying to every corner of the ship, to every human outpost listening in. All escorts launch shuttles with harmonic emitters immediately. Escort team, protect those shuttles with your lives. Remaining escorts form a defensive screen around the mothership. We've got 18 minutes to hold the line, make every shot count. Chapter 12, Episode 23. When the derelict mothership screams, humanity faces the abyss beyond stars. ASF, the tactical display pulsed with hostile signatures, each Dominion destroyer shifting into attack vectors like predators circling wounded prey. The mothership's resonance core thrummed faintly, its alien geometry shimmering against the void, a silent promise of protection if humanity could hold long enough to synchronize the emitters. Status on shuttle deployments, Vance's voice cut through the command deck like a blade. Kale's fingers danced across the console. 6 shuttles away, 4 more prepping. Escort wings are already engaging interceptors. Dominion destroyers are splitting into triads, classic encirclement maneuver. Then break their rhythm, Vance snapped. Target their lead ships, force them to react. The Herald's gunnery crews responded instantly. Particle lances tore across the void, slamming into the forward destroyer of the nearest triad. Its shields flared, then collapsed under the sustained barrage. The Dominion vessel erupted in a silent blossom of fire, fragments scattering like shrapnel across the stars. Confirmed kill, Kale reported, his tone flat but eyes sharp. They'll adjust. They always do, Vance muttered. On the outer perimeter, human escorts fought with ruthless precision. Pilots spoke in clipped bursts, their voices steady despite the chaos. Emitter shuttle Bravo 2 under fire, requesting cover. Copy, redirecting wing, keep that shuttle alive. Missiles streaked, countermeasures flared, and Dominion interceptors disintegrated under coordinated strikes. The humans didn't waste words, didn't indulge in bravado. Every syllable carried intent, every maneuver calculated to buy seconds. Seconds mattered. The Dominion transmission returned, this time from a different captain, his tone dripping with aristocratic disdain. Humans, you cling to relics you do not understand. Your desperation is amusing. Our dreadnoughts will arrive in 16 minutes. Your resistance will be catalogued as an anomaly before eradication. Kale muted the channel again, jaw tightening. They're accelerating. ETA revised 16 minutes. Vance's gaze hardened. Then we bleed them faster. The Herald's deck shuddered as return fire hammered its shields. Warning klaxons blared. Forward shield down to 60%, the tactical officer called. Divert auxiliary power. Hold the line, Vance ordered. The mothership's resonance pulsed stronger now, faint waves rippling across the tactical grid. The emitters were sinking, their harmonic fields beginning to overlap. A translucent barrier shimmered faintly around the human outposts, fragile but growing. Kale's eyes flicked to the readings. Shield extension at 30%, we need 12 more minutes. Then we buy 12, Vance said coldly. On the flank, Dominion destroyers surged, unleashing volleys of plasma torpedoes. Human escorts intercepted, their hulls burning as they absorbed impacts meant for the shuttles. Escort Delta 3 destroyed, Kale reported. Pilot ejected. Beacon active, another voice chimed in. Recovery later, Vance cut in. Focus on the mission. The words were brutal but necessary. Every distraction risked collapse. The Dominion fleet shifted tactics. Instead of pressing the destroyers forward, they began to stagger their formations, forcing humans to spread thin. Kale's brow furrowed. They're trying to fracture our defense net. If they break the perimeter, the shuttles won't survive. Vance leaned forward, voice low but steady. Then we fracture them first, target their command destroyer, cut the head off. The Herald's batteries pivoted, locking onto the Dominion flagship. Coordinated fire from escorts joined the barrage. The Dominion ship's shields flared brilliantly, resisting, but cracks began to show. Keep pressure, don't let them recover, Vance ordered. The mothership's resonance suddenly spiked, a deep vibration echoing across the void. The emitters locked into full sync, their harmonic fields snapping into alignment. A vast shield expanded outward, enveloping the human outposts in a shimmering cocoon of alien energy. Kale's console lit up. Shield extension complete, coverage stable. Relief rippled across the deck, but it was short-lived. Dominion dreadnoughts dropping out of warp, the sensor officer announced. ETA 2 minutes. The tactical display flared red as colossal signatures appeared on the edge of the grid. The Dominion flagship, already battered, transmitted one final message. Your relic shield will not save you. Our dreadnoughts carry weapons designed to unmake worlds. You will watch your colonies burn before you die. Vance's reply was ice. Then come and see if your empire can scream louder than this mothership. He cut the channel, turned to his crew. All batteries prepare to engage. Escorts tighten formation. We hold until the shield stabilizes against dreadnought fire. No retreat, no surrender. The void trembled as the Dominion dreadnoughts emerged, titanic vessels dwarfing the destroyers. Their hulls gleamed with imperial arrogance, weapons arrays glowing like suns. The Herald's crew braced. The mothership's resonance screamed, a soundless vibration that rippled across every sensor, every nerve. Kale whispered, almost reverent, "It's awake." The first dreadnought fired. A beam of annihilation lanced toward the human outposts, only to shatter against the alien shield, dispersing into harmless fragments of light. Gasps echoed across the deck. Vance's voice cut through, hard as steel. "Now we fight." The battle erupted in full fury. Dominion destroyers faltered as their command ship finally collapsed under human fire, its wreckage scattering across the void. The dreadnoughts pressed forward, but the mothership's shield held, its resonance screaming louder, defiant against imperial arrogance. Human ships darted like knives, striking weak points, retreating before counterfire. Calm voices directed chaos, every order precise, every sacrifice calculated. The abyss beyond stars had opened, and humanity did not flinch. The mothership screamed again louder, its resonance shaking the Dominion fleet. For the first time, the arrogant empire hesitated. And in that hesitation, humanity struck. End of episode 23.